Welcome back to Get Good Gaming, home of the world's most altruistic gamers. My name's Delapo, and today we're going to have a little discussion in a brand new segment I'd like to call Get Good Talks. In this format, we'll be taking a look at different events and topics in gaming and giving you our opinions on them as gamers, consumers, and people as a whole. We all come from different backgrounds, each of us with varying tastes and desires, so we believe that this will lead to a rich and fruitful discussion. So without further ado, today we are joined by Lewis.
What up, what up?
Or
And
Louise.
Gladys. Or Louise, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Yes, or Louise.
All right. Before we get into our discussion topics, what have you two been playing lately?
Counter-Strike. For sure, Counter-Strike.
Splatoon 2.
Oh, yes. Splatoon 2. I have been trying to muscle my way through Mafia 3. I mean, it's one of those things where I spent $40 on it. I should probably beat that at some point.
Is it any good?
Yeah, that is a topic we are actually going to be discussing today, and I will get more into that later. All right, so our very first discussion for Get Good Talks today is called Unfair Gaming Practices. To elaborate, these are things that as a whole the gaming community has deemed wrong or unfair and would like to see changed. For example, this includes things like day one DLC or microtransactions. So anyone who's listening understands what we're talking about.
All right.
So, our first bullet point comes in as the day and date conundrum and what it does to games. So, a little background, this actually has very little to do with the Switch, but, you know, the example follows a Switch game. So, today I saw that the indie game called Rhyme finally got a release date for the Switch, Nintendo's newest console. A Nintendo Switch version was promised quite a long time ago, in fact, very close to the game's reveal. Needless to say, the game is coming out 6 months after the other versions. Now, the game is currently sitting at an 80% on Metacritic, which is nothing to shake a stick at. So, two things come into question. Can a game's good reputation garner sales on a new platform, even months after its initial release, or will the game collapse in on itself because of the lack of hype?
That's a good question, man. I don't know. Like, if the game's been... I mean, it has to be a really good game so that when it finally goes to a different platform for it to succeed. I think it has to have a lot of, like, replay value.
Yeah, it has to have a good reason in order for me to buy it on a separate system if I'm already going to buy it on one.
Yeah. Completely
Right, because
agree
like
with that.
personally, I was absolutely floored, you know, that we were getting the game so late. Like I was when I first saw the game, you know, I was one of those people. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome! I'm really excited for this. And now I'm just like, I can't give two shits because it really is like it's really unfortunate, and I can't help but feel like the game. Like if the game doesn't do well, they'll blame the system rather than being like, oh, we took 6 months to release this game after the hype for it was at its peak, you know.
Which game is this again? What was the name of it?
It's called Rhyme.
Rhyme. Alright, that's a
Yeah.
new game. That's a new game to me. I haven't heard of that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't
Right.
either.
It's an indie game. It's a little indie game.
Ah, okay, okay.
But I mean, it's like it looks very polished and you know that kind of thing, and it looks really good, looks vibrant. But okay, so like today I was skulking through YouTube because that's what I do sometimes, and I think it was Jake over on SwitchForce gave the example of Ukulele coming to Switch, much later than the other versions, and that game when it was released was absolutely riddled with technical problems and glitches and frame rate issues, and he made a good point about, since it's coming to Switch, now maybe it'll have a breath of new life because it'll have that longer incubation time. They'll be able to fix a lot of the issues that was wrong with, the earlier versions. So maybe that'll, help the game in that, oh, yes, it's coming to the Switch, but we've got this thing that's better than the other, iterations, that kind of thing. But I just can't help but feel like the hype thing is going to really hinder it,
Like I go back to the previous thing I said, like it has to be really good already for me to consider buying it, especially not just once but twice, and then it just in general for it to replay. Like if they made a remake, let's say they made a remake of, I don't know, I'm thinking what game, I can't remember the last one I played. Let's say they made a remake of Kingdom Hearts again, right?
Another one.
Another remake, not even the regular game, right? Or the continuation. I mean, I most likely, like, I love Kingdom Hearts. That's my game. But I most likely will not be buying it. Like, I'd rather end up just watching the cutscenes on YouTube or something. Now,
So, I mean, I get what you're saying in that regard. Like, you know, the people who've already played, like Rhyme, for example, people who've already played, like, they have no reason to double dip. And especially since, like, even without, like, you know, the decade-long gap probably between, you know, 2.5 and 2 of Kingdom Hearts, this game came out 6 months ago, so they're definitely not going to buy it again. I mean, you know, had I bought it on my PlayStation 4 when it came out, there's no way I would ever buy it again.
right.
You know? No matter how good it was, like, you know, like, you can have that novelty of, oh, well, now you can take it on the go. That's it's still
enough.
it's not.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
definitely not enough. Now, had they come out day and date, that's the whole, like, you know, the whole topic behind this. Had they come out day and date, yeah, of course I'd buy it for the Switch over the PlayStation 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, all things considered, like, equal, you know, it's a polished game and everything like that. Like, I don't care if it takes a hit graphically, that's fine. But, you know, come out day and date when I was actually excited for it, yeah, absolutely. But 6 months, no way.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And even
I
then,
think
like,
just not enough.
yeah, hype is not. It's not enough. Because what's it called? Like, one of the games that I would play again that I did end up buying was it Drake's Uncharted. I went from beating it all 4 or 3 games on the PS3. I bought the entire trilogy on the I just died. I bought the entire trilogy on the PS4 because that game was that good. But to me, it's not because the game was so good, but the storyline of the game was amazing to me. It was like watching a movie. So, like, sometimes I want to watch another movie again, you know? Whereas Kingdom Hearts was more of an actual game. I feel like Uncharted was like a really good movie that I might want to watch in a few years.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I think that's actually really interesting that you say that because I guess the type of game it also you know, matters too. I mean, I'm sure there are people who would disagree with you in the idea that, like, oh, well, they're just like people who don't watch movies twice, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, you're not going to catch me playing the first 3 Uncharteds again. I can't do it. I can't do it to myself. I was like, especially like after 3, I was so burnt out on Uncharted. Then I got Uncharted 4, and it just sat there for like 6 months before I picked it up again because I was like, I don't want to do like a 4-game marathon. I can't do it.
Right.
And then they said that Rise of the Tomb Raider was a time exclusive for Xbox, and then it came out later on PlayStation. Now, I was one of those people who bought it because I played the first Tomb Raider game, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. But I can see why it didn't sell well, because once again, it's one of those things where like, the hype was completely gone. You know? People loved the first Tomb Raider. And then, like, a lot of people I talked to about, you know, the second game, you know, like, they need to know what came out. And that's the whole thing about, like, time and choices. So, I don't know if you guys heard about the Crash trilogy, which was, like, the insane trilogy.
Yeah, it's funny as you talk about it, like, I hear about it, I didn't see, like, the announcement of it, but yeah, like, you don't really see it. I don't see it that often.
Okay, well, it is absolutely it's so extreme, right? And so, you know, it's this whole thing where, like, when they first announced it, they said Detroit first on PlayStation, it was like, what? So is it coming to other things? So recently we've gotten reports that it's going to come to Xbox later on, which is kind of weird, like this whole, like, I'm going to play Crash on an Xbox thing, and we're just like, that's weird. But so yeah, we've got that whole thing, and, you know, talking about this particular subject of, you know, day and date and things coming out later hurting games. Even without the PlayStation 4's install base, I just feel like it coming out so much later is really going to hurt the way the game sells. As someone who has, you know, dabbled very, like, lightly in the whole business world, like, if that makes up, because, you know, in retrospect, like, if I saw the sales of the Crash, you know, Insane trilogy right now, I'd be like, oh man, you know how much, like, as well as it's selling, you know how much more we probably could have sold if we just put it across across all the platforms on the same at the same time. You know.
Yeah, but you gotta compare it to more sales on a video game that's gonna be what, like $60, right?
No, it's actually 40.
Okay, so $40, even less, versus a whole system that's probably gonna be like, what is it, 200 and something or 500, however much the system damn costs.
Right, but it's what I'm saying is, not only do you tap into that market of, you know, people who already have the PlayStation, which is like a 60 million console, you know, net you're casting, and then you've got on top of that like the 20 to 30 million Xboxes, not to mention PCs. So I'm just saying, like, had you put it all at the same time, I feel like you're casting a much larger net than, you know, just the PlayStation, and then hoping later on people are excited enough for your game to still buy it, even though it's an old game, quote unquote, at that point. You know?
Fuck. Yeah, I agree, but I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure that there's a business window for it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's another game that we don't know about yet, that's why it's being released later on, that they don't want it to compete with when the system switches or whatever. I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, it's definitely possible that they're working on another Crash thing, but I just don't know how you keep the momentum up with such a, you know, such a gap. Gladys, what do you think?
I mean, it would make more sense to logically to sell it to everything at the same time. But if someone's going to really want it for their system, they're going to wait for it, because I don't know, if it was me, I wouldn't spend the extra money to buy a whole new console when I can just wait and buy it on the one I have.
I mean, yeah, like I don't think I'd buy. If I knew the game was coming out to my system, I would wait. But now if like you have, let's say, cross-platform online, then it's kind of like, oh, maybe I should get it first, because by the time I go online, everyone's OP and I'm just starting out. You know, that would make sense for me to buy the entire system.
You're in a safe place. It's the internet, so you know you're safe. All right.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so video games and tackling sensitive subject matter. So Mafia 3, like I was talking about before. I remember hearing about this game, you know, when it was first announced, the idea of playing as a person of color in a fictional New Orleans set in 1968. Now I was thinking to myself, you know, this is either going to be amazing or it's going to piss off a lot of people. And to my dismay, it was neither. No other games really come to mind as having dealt with this particular subject matter before, but if you can think of one, please leave the title in the comments. I'd really love to compare it. But as a person of color, you know, I may set my expectations a little too high, but I'm one of those people who think that video games are on the verge of being considered an art. So a little explanation of the game itself. It begins like right off the bat with a warning to the gamers saying, you know, along the lines of this game takes place in a very divisive time in America's history. We want to represent it accurately. You play as a black guy, you've been warned. You know, something like that. And so, like, now I honestly found this choice to be more interesting than endearing. You see, because like movies and other media don't warn you that shit's about to go down. Like, honestly, like if you were like, you know, like honestly, if they were to just begin the game with like a pan over the city saying 1968 on the bottom, I would have known to expect that the N-word was going to come out, you know, some point in the story. You know, like Roots doesn't warn you, 12 Years a Slave doesn't warn you. To my knowledge, Django Unchained doesn't warn you. So as a whole, like, you guys think that this was a good move? Does it scream that they weren't sure how people would react? Because to me, it doesn't say, you know, as a gamer, that they were very confident that their product would be met as the sincere attempt at portraying the time, that if they hadn't, you know.
I think it's a fair warning because people are stupid.
People can be very sensitive with this kind of thing.
Because especially as, you know, as things are a little, you know, a little shaky right now, like as far as race goes, like, you know, so I can see maybe why they did it, you know, because times are shifting a little bit again. And like, I guess all in all, do you believe that video games as a whole have a place, you know, as a medium in which we can discuss social issues, or where they can be met with like a genuine dialogue, or should video games strictly be an escape for people to utilize as, entertainment?
I think it should be allowed to be both. That's the whole point of, you buying the video game that you like. Because I'm a huge fan of first-person shooters and or cinematic games. Like, I never beat Heavy Rain, but I completely enjoyed playing it because it felt like a movie. I did feel like I was immersed in that game. And then I like games like Counter-Strike and stuff like that because it feels like it's me playing. Let's say I'm in this building and I'm the one shooting. I'm competing with my teammates to beat the other team. Like, it's very interactive. Obviously, I'm not talking to them because I'm doing this stream right now. But, so I like those things, and then I like whatever comes with those things.
I think it's a good way to, I don't know, make it known, but not in a way that seems overtly, like, in your face. It's a good way to talk about things sometimes. Oh, hey, I played this game, but did you see this in it?
Right. Because, like, okay, so you're playing the game, right? Mafia 3, and like I said, I'm trying, really through it because honestly, it's one of those games, and this actually fits into what we're talking about, where like the story is good. Like it's great. It borders on like being really, really great, as a game, but it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go through another firefight just to get to a cutscene, and then I gotta do another firefight. I gotta drive all the way over here to get to another cutscene. I just wish it was one of those like Heavy Rain kind of situations where I'm just like, yeah, I'd rather just, do a quick time here and there and make a decision here, and just enjoy the story, because I feel like the game itself wants to say something, but the story is kind of sort of taking a back seat to the gameplay because it's like, oh, by the way, this is a video game too,
Yeah, I definitely go for a more story-oriented game. If it's not a team-based, objective kind of game, like what I'm playing now, right? If it's not like this, then I'd rather a really detailed story game. That's kind of why I like the Nathan Drake series, the Drake series, Uncharted series. I'm sorry.
Right, but like, okay, like specifically, games talking about social issues. So, like I said, no AAA releases really come to mind as far as like talking about social issues, except for like the Call of Duty series, in the sense that like they give us this idea of what war is like, but they never really talk about it. They never really talk about the ramifications of war, or what it means to be a soldier, defying orders, like that kind of thing. Like they never really see the emotional effect these kinds of things take.
Okay, I get what you mean. I've never played a game like that to be able to, I guess, comment well on it.
Right, but it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm just asking, like, do you believe that games as a medium can do that or should do that? Because I feel like sometimes maybe it might trivialize some of the issues, like going back to Mafia, like people on the freaking street will call you the N-word like it's nothing, and you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, well, I can just shoot him with my shotgun and it'll just be over with. Like, I can, like, the cops are so stupid in this game, like, it doesn't even matter, that kind of thing. But that's not how, in real life, these kinds of things go down. Like, if someone does something horrible to you, the adult thing isn't just to be like, oh, I'm gonna beat the shit out of this person, Like, that's just something you have to deal with, and you don't see, like, in the game, the emotional, like, your character's emotions being torn down slowly and slowly and slowly, that kind of thing. So
I see what you mean. In that sense, yeah, I can see how it might trivialize a serious issue. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like video games, like you said, should be a free medium. I feel like you should be able to do whatever you want to do. Obviously to an extent, but also not portray not make the negative seem positive, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be a limit to something like that. But maybe you're right. Maybe, now that I think about it, maybe it shouldn't be involved, because then it'll be too much.
But like I said, I do think it's possible to have a way for it to be not trivialized, but still bring it to mind, because especially with games that go into the past, these things happen, and you can just give people sort of a taste of what it was like, and it makes you kind of think about it.
Yeah, that's another viewpoint on it, and I think that would be good. Yeah, if someone could see a different point of view by, let's say, living that role. I think it'd be a good way to like open someone's eyes. So yeah, it's yeah.
I mean,
Honestly,
it all depends on what a person likes in a video game in the first place. If they don't like it, they're not going to play it.
And that's why I think, like I said, like I think that certain genres would cover it better than others. What's more, like certain franchises would work, too, because like, if for instance, I'm not saying this is a good idea, I'm just saying, for instance, if Assassin's Creed did something similar where they went to the 1960s or the 50s, and the main character was of African descent, obviously, Assassin's Creed has this whole thing about, being historically accurate, to some degree or whatever, but still being a video game and talking about history, and you learn about history whether you like it or not in Assassin's Creed. So I do think that they would have an interesting take on it, but at the same time, it's Assassin's Creed, so I can't help but feeling like the issues that they're trying to convey as like horrible, like a horrible time in America's history, they would still kind of trivialize it in the sense that I'm still an assassin and people say mean things to me, so I'm gonna kill them.
Maybe there should be a part, like if you're not on a mission to kill somebody, it should be that you can't kill anyone, and you just have to deal with what people say to you.
I mean, yeah, that's shit that'd be accurate,
Then then it'll be a more accurate option.
You should get me it. So get it while it's hot.
I mean, you two are both, of Hispanic descent. Like, could you see something perhaps in that area? Like, I can't, nothing's really coming to mind as far as like video game characters in recent times, or video game franchises.
Yeah, I guess it's hard too, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know any Spanish characters. The most Spanish character I think I remember was when the game Scarface came out.
Like main characters that come to mind either. I mean, the closest I've gotten is like King from like Tekken, and I'm not even sure if he's Hispanic or not.
Yeah, I feel you.
But I mean, yeah. So I don't know. It's weird, and yeah, I can't remember any Spanish main character.
That's kind of making me kind of sad though.
Sad? Why? I mean, a lot of the games I play, you create your character.
Oh, that's true.
So for me, it's not.
It depends on the genre.
I don't really feel it like that, Like, it's not like, oh man, I wish my character was black. It's not. It's kind of like, oh well.
Well, that's interesting that we're talking about this, character creation and things like that, because Pokemon X and Y was the first Pokemon game where you could change the race of your main character. And now I never played X and Y. I actually played, like, it had been like a few years gap in Pokemon games that I played. I actually played Omega Ruby and Sapphire, and I started up the game, and I was like, why can't I be black? Like, this is the game after X and Y. Why can't I? I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I still played and beat the game. It was like, whatever. But then Sun and Moon came out again. And
wait, Sun and Moon, the second one or the first one?
No. It's the first one. I don't know why I said again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it went X and Y, Omega Ruby, Sapphire, and then Sun and Moon. And then Sun and Moon, you could change your person's race, and I was like, hell yeah. And then you can actually change your character's hair, too. And I got cornrows, and I almost fucking cried, because I don't know why. I was just like, oh my god, this is awesome. This is like the best thing ever. I got cornrows, a basketball cap, and a Pikachu. Fuck with me. So, like, I kind of think, like... I don't know, like it's the little things sometimes that really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like to know.
It
what's
does
going
kind of
on.
immerse you a little bit more because you're like,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
me.
Yeah, exactly. That's you. That's me. That's why I like games with character creation. And I'm one of those people. Shit, what did I click? I'm one of those people who will spend like a couple hours trying to either figure out my name, or trying to figure out the what's it called? Trying to make my character trying to make it as perfect like me as possible.
Yeah, same here. Same here every time. Ugh. Okay.
Don't
All
be
right.
bad, bro.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. It means a lot that you were able to get in on this discussion with us. Thank you, Gladys, for taking time away from raising your childrens.
Welcome.
Yes. So, if you would like to see more content like this, please like and subscribe below. I've got a lot more ideas for discussions, and
Yes.
if you have any suggestions, please let us know in the comments below. All right, and remember, go out there, get good.
Get good.
Bye-bye.